Punctuating dialogue in our writing. We need to get the characters in our stories talking. Okay, this is really important because it helps us hear the characters. It's very much more interesting to read. And when we do this, we don't want to just tell us what someone is saying. We want to actually let them say it. This is a very important part of our writing that we need to focus on, is having the people say what they're saying in the story instead of telling us what they said. So there's some simple rules that we need to follow in order to do this effectively and do this well. First rule, if you can see the bullet here, is we use quotes when someone talks. Anything spoken goes inside the quotation marks. The example below shows what this means. We have the sentence, "We're getting nowhere fast," Natalie sighed. "We're getting nowhere fast" is this part that Natalie actually spoke. So that part gets put in the quotes, as you can see here and here. Okay? So the first word we want to make sure gets capitalized, just like we would with any other sentence we write, right here, the we and were. The second bullet here talks about punctuation. The punctuation in a sentence that is said gets put inside of any quotation marks. So, if you notice here, we have a comma. The comma replaces a period. The only time it will not, this unless part, is when it is an exclamation or a question for a sentence. So you could read the sentence three different ways. The first way is, "We're getting nowhere fast." It's a statement that would be a period which gets replaced by a comma. The second way you can read it is, "We're getting nowhere fast." In that case, you would want to make sure that after fast, instead of a comma, it would be an exclamation point. The third way you could read it is, "We're getting nowhere fast," which sounds more like a question, even though that might not be a great question to ask. That's what you'd want to make sure goes inside those quotes. Okay? So as I hear over here on the bottom, you can have fun reading the sentence in different ways and figuring out which way fits best. You should know as your writer, though. The next thing that we need to think about when punctuating is where the tag goes. And for our purposes, we're going to focus on practicing putting the tag at the end. The tag is the thing that says who spoke. You'll notice it in many places you read. It's always said Bob, said Jim, replied Billy, any of these types of things that tell you who spoke. Natalie sighed is the tag in this sentence. So it goes at the end, the period follows that tag, and that gives you the idea of who is speaking. Okay? The last thing to keep in mind, and this is really important, is that when we have a new speaker, we have a new paragraph. You'll notice this in all the books you read. There's many paragraphs. It's never a giant block of text. And to illustrate this point, I'm going to share with you a piece of writing. Here we have a page from A Long Walk to Water by Linda Sue Park. If you'll notice towards the bottom of the page, we have a conversation going on between Salva, our main character, and Buxa, his friend. So you'll see here in this paragraph where we have the indent, Buxa is talking. He says, "Yes, there it is again, come." Buxa began walking very quickly and Salva trudged behind to keep up. Twice Buxa paused to listen and then kept going even faster. What? We have a new speaker, so we have a new paragraph. Even though it is one word that Salva says, and then the tag follows, we have one paragraph there. Now we have a new person speaking again. Buxa stopped abruptly in front of a very large tree. "Yes," he said. "Now go call the others." And then Salva will reply. By now Salva had caught the feeling of excitement. "But what shall I tell them?" So every time we have a new person speaking, we indent and have a new paragraph, even if it is one word they say. That is how, as a reader, with our eyes, we can track a conversation going back and forth. Here we have 3 sample sentences where we're going to practice doing a little bit of quoting. You'll need your writer's notebook for this, so make sure that you have that available. If you need to pause right now and go get that, please pause right now so you can grab that video and make it available to you, that notebook. So the first sentence, "I'll see you next Friday," he said. In order to edit this properly, because we're going to practice putting some actual quotation editing into play here, the general rules of writing still apply. I need to capitalize, I need to punctuate. So what part is being said? "I'll see you next Friday." that is the part that is going to go in quotes. He said is the tag. I know that that is going to be at the end, and I will need a period at the end. The next thing to think about is the first word in my sentence needs to be capitalized. So triple underline equals capitalization for a editing tool. The next thing I need to think of, and the last thing, is after the part that's said, I need to have some punctuation inside the quotes. This is a statement, so a comma would go here to take the place of a period. The next one, do you need to get permission? She inquired. I want you to try in your notebook, copy it over, and edit it correctly. And when you're done, I'm going to ask you to play the video and see if you're correct. So please hit pause and try it on your own. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and see if you're correct. First, I would quote the part that was said, do you need to get permission? I would make sure the D is capitalized. I'd have my triple underline. I have a question mark, so I want to put a question mark right here after permission. She inquired, period. If you did this part correct, good job. If not, we're going to want to try again. So there's one more part at the bottom that I want you to see if you can do. There are 2 examples now right above you. You can rewind the video and see some of the other editing examples on the note sheet. And I'd like you to give it a shot and see if you can punctuate "I can't wait for spring," yelled Sam, correctly. And tomorrow we will review this in class. Good job, and let's have this ready for tomorrow, guys.